Good morning, everyone. Welcome to your favorite time and day of the week. It's Coffee Talk Tuesday. Today, I'm giving you 4 tips on how, excuse me, how to achieve social media ROI, return on investment. So this is kind of the follow up to last week's um, how to calculate your ROI. Good morning, NoFo Town and Country. Good morning, Life Coach Fred. Thanks for tuning in, guys. So, we're talking today about how to achieve that ROI. We talked last week about, good morning, Graham. Thanks for coming. Um, Last week, we talked about how to calculate your ROI. And then this week, we are going to talk about how to achieve that ROI. So make sure you guys say hi when you get here. You guys know the deal at this point. So I'm just going to jump right into it. So the very first thing is you need to test what you're doing on social media, right? So especially if you are running ad campaigns, if you are doing ads of any type, make sure that you're testing those. We love to do something that's called A/B testing. So essentially, we take two ads that are very, very similar, but they're a little different, and run them against each other. And what I mean by that is, let's say, for instance, when we do it on Facebook, we will have, let's say, a $300 budget, and we will put 150 and 150 towards both the ads. So what happens is we run these ads against each other. So they are generally the same audience, but you can play around with audiences. You do have to have some sort of difference within the creative, but generally the same audience. You want to keep as much similar as possible. Think about when you were in grade school and there was the science fair. You know, the steps to having a hypothesis and then testing everything. So you want to keep as much similar as possible. So let's say we do the same audience, um, same image, but we adjust the caption a little bit. And so we'll run those against each other and see which one does better. So that's called A/B testing. And the reason why that is so important, and something that's really useful for marketers, is because you start to learn a lot about your target market. You learn what they like as far as imagery, as far as text is concerned, placements. You know, are they looking in the feed? Are they looking on stories? Where are they really taking in your content? And these things are super helpful because then you know where you should be posting, what you should be posting, and how you should be posting it, right? So you definitely want to play around with different ad creatives. So this way you figure out how your target audience perceives information best. You also want to try different audience segments. There could be a whole market of people out there that you had no idea were interested in your product or service, but then all of a sudden you start to play around with your audiences a little bit and you start to get reception from these guys, um, or girls or whatever. So it definitely playing around with audiences will help you achieve your return on investment, because there could be a bunch of people that are interested in what you have going, that you didn't even know about or maybe didn't even think about. Try You also want to try some like out of the box things. We ran a couple ad campaigns a little bit ago for a festival, and part of it was a wine tour or a beer tour, whatever it may be. And we looked up the demographic of our target market and what they were interested in. So we decided to just on a whim put a pug and a beer on one of our ad creatives. And wouldn't you know it, it actually did the absolute best out of every ad that we ran for, and we did multiple campaigns. So a wine tour, a vineyard tour, a beer tour doesn't really have a lot to do with puppies. There were no puppies on the tour, but just that image of a dog and a beer, people absolutely loved it, which was great. So trying some out of the box things that you wouldn't really think go together or go with your product or your service, and you'll be pleasantly surprised sometimes. And of course, sometimes it's not going to be the most receptive to people, but you never know. Good morning, Trace. Yes, who doesn't love puppies? I have a 14-week-old puppy at home, so sometimes I don't love puppies. Anyway, so definitely play around with your content, also your types of content. We all know that video is king, right? Video does great. It's the best with all the algorithms, but sometimes there's target market or target audiences out there that don't necessarily want to watch videos. Maybe they're better readers and they want a blog. So play around with the different types of content, because although, yes, we are very cognizant of the algorithms and how they rank things and how we show up, you also really just want to keep your end user and your target audience in mind when you're creating all these things. So play around with your content and see what works best for your target market. You also want to test different hypotheses. So last week when I talked about, setting those like smart goals and making sure that you know exactly where you're going and how you're going, or where you're going and when you're going to get there and all those things, right? Um, Play around with different ways to get there. So what may work one month may not work another month or 3 months after. So make sure that you're playing around with, am I sending out more email blasts this month? Am I doing more social posts? Am I just doing more engagement and not as many social posts? So definitely keep an eye on the different marketing mix collaborations that work best for you and your target audience. So next up, then you're gonna adjust. So we did all these tests, right? We're playing around with our content and our captions and posting at different times, and we're getting all over the place, right? So then you want to take a look at everything and you want to adjust your schedule or your plan on how you're going to get there, right? So social media is always changing, and this we know all the time. So social media is constantly changing, with algorithms, what they like, what they don't like, what we can do, what we can't do. So definitely keeping your thumb on the pulse with what's going on with these different platforms. Tuning into Coffee Talk Tuesday is a great way to do that. But making sure that you're just staying aware of the social media platforms and what they're doing and how they're adjusting. Also, remember, people are fickle. What they like one day, 1 week, 1 month is maybe not something that they like a few weeks down the line, the next day, a few months from now. So people are constantly changing as well as these platforms. So you really just want to keep that in mind, and which is why it's especially important to switch up your marketing matrix and the things that you're doing to make sure that you're evolving and growing and adjusting with your target market. Did your target market's pain points change? So your target market may have been good, great, grand in the summer, but maybe they're summer people, and now that it's getting colder, they have a new pain point that they don't like the weather. So what is changing with your target market? What are those new pain points that you can appeal to and position yourself to be there when they need you? For instance, when COVID happened, being quarantined was a new pain point for everyone. And there's businesses that were able to reposition themselves to be more appealing in quarantine, during quarantine, that ended up doing very well for themselves during, the whole thing. There's a lot of people that started selling online courses saying, hey, stuck at home, stop scrolling, learn something new. Those types of people position themselves to be very appealing during this new pain point of their target audience. And then just also making sure that they're still on your platform. There's new platforms popping up all the time. I mean, look at TikTok. So just making sure that did your target market outgrow your platform? Are they still on your platform? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Instagram? Are they on LinkedIn? People who are going from, let's say, college and moving into the professional world may adjust more of their social media time to LinkedIn to make those business connections, right? So just making sure that you're keeping an eye on where your target market is living. Life coach Fred, flexibility in business definitely is a strong point. I totally agree. You have to constantly adapt or change or get left behind. All right. So two, just making sure that you adjust. So this way, with everything that you tested in the beginning, you're getting the biggest return on investment because you're adjusting to your target market. Um, Number three, you want to make sure that you're planning for the long term. Having those viral videos is great to get your one shot at fame, of course, but is that really what's going to stick for the long run? You want to make sure that you're remembering those goals that you set for yourself, what you're wanting to do with social media, and planning for the long term, making sure that you're staying on brand. So this way, if somebody sees something you put out today, a year from now, they're still understanding your business and your brand. So making sure that you're keeping in mind that this is a long run thing, not a short term thing. Of course, we would all love to go viral, but it's a long game with social media, and making sure that if somebody sees something today, a year from now, that they still understand who you are, what you do, and how you do it. And finally, number four is to use social media tracking tools. I gave you that calculation last week, which is value divided by investment times 100. That's a way to calculate your ROI. But also using things like Google Analytics to make sure that what you're doing is working. You can put in UTM parameters, which is like a short uh, little short text that goes on um, your website, and you can track visitors, where traffic is being driven from. You can also do Facebook pixels if you guys are running ad campaigns, making sure that that pixel is on your website so you can see and track who's going there, and then you can retarget them. Of course, using the analytics that are embedded in the platform. I know, once again, analytics. Um, but all these different platforms all have their own specific analytics to the platform. So making sure that you're taking a look at those and that you're really honing in on that information. And if you're using a scheduling platform like Hootsuite, or if you have a CRM, or we're SharpSpring partners, they have great analytics. So any type of scheduling platform that you're using, they will also give you analytics as well. So making sure that you're using these different tools to track your goals is super, super important, because that's how you're really going to gauge that ROI, that return on investment that you're doing with social media, be it time, be it money, whatever it is. Um, so those are my 4 tricks on how to achieve social media marketing ROI, or return on investment. Making sure that you are constantly testing your content, your audience, your placements, all the different things that you can test. You know, social media should not be a stagnant thing. It should be something that is ever changing and ever evolving, and growing with your target audience. So that was number 2, making sure that you're adjusting after you do all those tests. Adjust your marketing campaigns, making sure that you are staying on the right track to meet your goals, but that track may shift and adjust a little bit, which is totally okay. 3, making sure that you are planning for the long term. If somebody sees what you put out today, is it still going to be relevant, on brand, on par for your goals a year from now? And finally, number 4, using the tools that you have to make sure that you are staying on track, and to see who you're hitting and how you're hitting them. In which case, you can either adjust or maybe open yourself up to a new target market. And those different tools are analytics that are on your platform, Google Analytics, UTM parameters, whatever it may be. All right, guys. Thanks again for tuning into Coffee Talk Tuesday. As usual, we appreciate all you guys stopping in. If you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out. And if you have a topic you would like us to cover on Coffee Talk Tuesday, we're more than happy to do it. Just send us an email, shoot us a DM, whatever it may be. Don't forget to tell your friends to tune in to your favorite time of the week, which is Tuesday at 10 a.m. And besides that, I hope you guys all have a really awesome week, and we will see you next week.